let's go ahead and get started. What we need today is just a little piece of wall, no blocks or anything else. And why don't we start just in a seated position on your mat. Oh, and before I forget, let me mute everybody so you don't end up popping up on a recording. And then put myself in the center. Okay, great. All right, so coming into a seated position, however you're comfortable. Start just with your eyes closed and take a couple of deep breaths, just in and out, inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. You can either keep your eyes closed or you can open them. Go ahead and place your right hand on the ground next to your hip and lean toward that side. See if you can bring your elbow to the ground. If not, that's okay. Just kind of lean that way. And then bring your left arm up by your ear. And feel a nice little side stretch. And think about rotating your chest up toward the sky. And then take that left arm and then make some big circles. So keeping your palm up toward the sky, you're going to bring that arm behind you and then forward towards your knee, stretching out in front of you, turning your palm up, and then coming back to by your ear. And just do 2 more circles like that, taking your arm back, down by your knee, forward, then up by your ear. And 1 more time, back behind you, towards your knee, out in front, and then up by your ear. And then push yourself up and put your left hand on the ground by your left hip and lean toward that side. And then bring your right arm up by your ear. And then take that arm behind you towards your knee, out in front, and back up by your ear. And do 2 more circles behind, by your knee, and out to the front, and by your ear. And 1 more time, take that arm behind you, towards your knee in front of you, and then up by your ear. And then gently push yourself up, and then lean forward and come onto all fours. We'll just do a couple rounds of cat and cow here. So think about really gripping with your hands on your mat so that as you come forward and drop your chest down, like if I don't do anything with my hands and my shoulders, this is where I am, but if I really engage here, then I get a little bit deeper arch. And then push through the heels of your hands, keeping your shoulders over the top of your wrists, and then push your chest up to the sky. And then drop your chest down, and engage with the heels of the hands, and arch up, looking up. And then exhale, push through the heels of your hands, and push your chest up toward the sky. And 1 more time, drop your chest down, engage your upper back and look up. And then push through your hands, bringing your upper back toward the ceiling. And then come back to neutral. Tuck your toes under, push your hips up, coming into your first downward dog. And just hang out here for a few breaths. You can move your hips side to side, pedal your legs, however you feel. And gently come forward and backward. Just kind of get comfortable in your down dog. And we'll just stay here for a few breaths. So your feet are hip distance apart, parallel to each other and parallel to the sides of your mat. Your hands are flat on your mat with your fingertips facing forward. You're pushing through the heels of your hands to push your shoulders away. Dropping your head toward the mat. Thinking about bringing your heels down toward the ground. We'll take one more breath here. And then walk your feet toward your hands. And come up to standing. And from here, we'll go into our sun salutations. So inhaling, lift your arms up and look up. Exhaling, fold forward. Inhaling, look up. And exhaling, take your right foot to the back of the mat. And take your left foot to the back of the mat and come into chaturanga. And coming to the tops of your feet, bring your chest forward to upward facing dog. And then tuck your toes under. You can add another chaturanga here if you want, or go straight back into downward facing dog. And we'll stay here for a few breaths. So you're pushing your hips up toward the sky. Not pushing yourself too hard yet. This is just our second downward dog, but see if you can get a little deeper than you were the first time. Really engaging your upper back as you push. And one more breath. On your next inhale, take your right leg up to the sky. Bring your right foot forward. Bring your left foot forward and fold. And inhaling, come all the way up to standing with your arms up overhead. And then bring your hands to prayer with the heart. Inhaling, lift your arms up and look up. Exhaling, fold forward. Inhale and look up. Exhaling, take your left foot to the back of the mat, your right foot to the back of the mat, and come into chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. We'll stay here for a few breaths. Maybe you can get your heels just a little bit closer to the ground. Maybe you can get your chest a little bit closer to your thighs. Or not. Maybe you need to bring your knees down and take a break. Whatever feels right. One more breath. On your next inhale, take your left leg up to the sky. Bring your left foot forward. Bring your right foot forward and fold. And inhaling, come all the way up to standing. And then bring your hands to prayer with the heart. Inhaling, raise your arms up and look up. And exhaling, fold forward. Inhaling, look up. Exhaling, take your right foot to the back of the mat. Take your left foot to the back of the mat and come into chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. And exhaling once again to downward facing dog. So hopefully each time you're here, you're doing something a little bit different. Whether it's pushing the heel of your hand in more, raising your hips up more, pushing your chest down more, whatever it is. Just something a little bit different. On your next inhale, take your right leg up to the sky. Bring your right foot forward. Then bring your left foot forward and fold. And then inhaling, come all the way up to standing and look up. And then bring your hands to prayer. One more round just like this. Inhaling, arms up and look up. Exhaling, fold forward. Inhaling, look up. And exhaling, take your left foot to the back of the mat. Take your right foot to the back of the mat and come into chaturanga. And inhale to upward facing dog. And then exhale to downward facing dog. Stay here for a couple more breaths. On your next inhale, take your left leg up to the sky. Bring your left foot forward. Bring your right foot forward and fold. And inhaling, come all the way up to standing with your arms up to the sky. And then bring your hands to prayer. Now we'll go on to series B. So inhaling, you're going to sit your bottom down, coming into a chair. So keeping your knees over the tops of your feet so you can still look down and see your toes. And then bringing your chest up. And then exhaling, straighten your legs and fold forward. Inhaling, look up. Exhaling, take your right foot to the back of the mat. Take your left foot to the back of the mat and come into chaturanga. And then inhale to upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. Take your right leg up to the sky, bring your right foot forward, swivel your left heel down, and come into warrior one. So your front knee is over your ankle, your back leg is straight with the foot angled in, and your hips are facing forward. You can bring your arms up to the sky and look up or look forward. And then bring your hands down on either side of that foot. Take the right foot to the back of the mat, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, and exhale to downward facing dog. On your next inhale, take the left leg up to the sky. Bring your left foot forward, swivel your right heel down, and warrior one on this side. So again, your knees over the top of that ankle, the back leg is straight with the toes angled in, and your hips are facing forward. You bring your arms up to the sky and either look up or look forward. And on your next exhale, bring your hands down on either side of that foot. Put the left foot to the back of the mat. Come into chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. And we'll stay here just a couple of breaths. On your next inhale, take your right leg up to the sky. Bring your right foot forward. Bring your left foot forward and sit your bottom down like you're sitting in a chair. And exhaling, straighten your legs and fold forward. And inhaling, come all the way up to standing with the arms up to the sky. And then bring your hands to prayer at your heart. Inhaling, sit your bottom down and bring your arms and chest up, sitting in a chair. And exhaling, fold forward. Inhaling, look up. Exhaling, take your left foot to the back of the mat. Take your right foot to the back of the mat and come into chaturanga. And inhale to upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. Now come forward into plank. And then bring your right foot in and your right knee in, bringing your knee towards your chest. And pushing your upper back up toward the sky. And then exhaling, straighten that leg up to the sky. You're in downward dog with the lifted right leg. Then come forward again and bring that knee with you. And bring it up to your right upper arm or elbow. And then exhaling, push back, down dog with a lifted right leg. And then come forward one more time to plank, and then bring that right knee to your left elbow. And then exhaling to downward dog with a lifted right leg. And now bring that right foot forward, place it in between your hands, swivel your left heel down, and come into warrior one. Exhaling, hands down on either side of that foot, right foot to the back of the mat, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, and exhale to downward facing dog. And come forward into plank. And bring that left knee with you. So bring that left knee in towards your chest. Your shoulders are over the top of your hands, and you're pushing your back, your shoulder blades up toward the sky. Exhaling, push back into downward dog with a lifted left leg. And come forward and bring that left knee up to your left upper arm or elbow. Exhaling, push back to downward dog with a lifted left leg. And then come forward one more time and bring that knee across your body to the opposite elbow. And then exhaling again, downward dog with a lifted left leg. And then come forward, bring that left foot down in between your hands, rotate your back heel down, and come into warrior one. Exhaling, hands down on either side of that foot, left foot to the back of the mat, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, and exhale to downward facing dog for a few breaths. On your next inhale, take that left leg up to the sky. Bring that left foot forward. Bring the right foot forward and sit like you're sitting in a chair. And exhaling, straighten those legs and fold forward. And inhaling, come all the way up to standing with your arms up to the sky. And then bring your hands to prayer. One more round. Inhaling, sit your bottom down like you're sitting in a chair. Bring your chest up. And exhaling, straighten the legs and fold forward. Inhale and look up. Exhaling, take your right foot to the back of the mat. Take your left foot to the back of the mat. And come into chaturanga. Inhaling to upward facing dog. And exhaling to downward facing dog. Now come forward, we're going to do what's called a hollow body plank. So I'm going to turn to the side. So your regular plank is kind of like this, where your body's pretty flat, and your hips and your shoulders and your ankles are kind of in line. Hollow body is just a small adjustment that involves just pushing the shoulder blades up and hollowing your belly button. So you're kind of pushing your belly button up toward the spine, and then pushing your shoulder blades up without really moving your hips. So if you notice, here's like regular plank for me, and then here's hollow body. My hips don't really move, it's just the upper body. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and assume that position. So your shoulders are over your wrists. And you're pushing your shoulder blades up and sucking your belly button in. And just stay here for a couple breaths. And go ahead and push your hips back up to the sky. And take your right leg up to the sky. Bring your right foot forward. Swivel your left heel down and come into warrior one. And then hands on either side of that right foot. Right foot goes to the back of the mat. Come into chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog for a couple of breaths. And then come forward one more time to that hollow body plank. So shoulders over your wrists. Pushing your scapula up to the sky, sucking your belly button in, just for a couple of breaths. And lift your hips up. Coming back into downward dog. Then your next inhale, take your left leg up to the sky. Bring your left foot forward, swivel your right heel down. And come into warrior one. And exhale, both hands down on either side of that foot. Left foot to the back of the mat. Chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. And exhaling to downward facing dog for a few breaths. So hopefully you're feeling a little bit warmer. Maybe feeling a little bit more open. And keep thinking about what you can do differently in this downward dog. On your next inhale, take your right leg up to the sky. Bring your right foot forward. Bring your left foot forward and sit in Utkatasana. And exhaling, straighten your legs and fold forward. And inhaling, come all the way up to standing. And then bring your hands to your heart. Maybe close your eyes just for a second. And take a deep breath. We're going to move just for a second to the wall. We're going to do one pose at the wall, and then we'll come back and do a little bit more vinyasa. So the one thing we're going to do here, we're going to spend just a couple of minutes doing it, it's just a shoulder opener. So we're going to stand about a leg distance-ish from the wall. And then bring your hands to shoulder level. And then you might need to adjust where your feet are a little bit. You're going to try to bring your head through in between your arms. Like you're going to bring your chest down toward the ground while keeping your hands on the wall right where they are. My feet are about hip distance apart. My hands are about shoulder distance apart. So you don't want your hands super far apart from each other. Just kind of shoulder distance. And then you drop your head through and stay there for just a couple of breaths and then come out and then try again. I'm just going to do this 2 or 3 times at your own pace. You really want to think about pushing your chest down toward the ground. Make sure you take a break before you try again. I'm going to do one last one here for me. And when you're ready, come back to the top of your mat. And inhaling, take your arms up to the sky. Exhaling, fold forward. Inhaling, look up. And then take your right leg to the back of the mat. And take your left leg to the back of the mat. And come into Chaturanga. And inhale, to upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. Now take your right leg up to the sky. Then bring your right foot forward in between your hands and come up into crescent. So in crescent, your front knee is over the top of your ankle, your back leg is straight, and your heel is off the ground. So my foot is not swiveled down the way it is in warrior one or warrior two. My heel is up facing the sky. You're trying to really engage your quad here on that left leg to keep that back leg straight. And then kind of sitting your hips down if you can. You can keep your hands on your hips or bringing them up toward the sky, and you can have the hands clasped or separated, either way. You just want to make sure that you're not pushing that front foot forward, not leaning over that front foot. Your weight is evenly balanced between these 2 feet. Then we're going to stay here for a minute. You're making sure both your hips are facing forward. See if you can drop down even just a little bit deeper. You should feel a nice stretch in that left psoas. And of course your right thigh is working pretty hard as well. One more breath here. Now go ahead and swivel that back heel down and rotate your hips to the side. We're going to warrior two. So warrior two, your front knee is going to remain exactly where it was. Your back leg is still straight, but your toes are now, your foot is flat on the ground and your toes are angled in, and your hips are open to the side. You bring your arms up at shoulder level. Trying to keep your torso evenly balanced between your front and your back leg. You don't want to be leaning toward that front leg. You may want to inch that back foot back just a little bit sometimes compared to where we are for crescent or warrior one, or not. And you're thinking about trying to get this front thigh to be parallel to the earth. Tucking the tailbone under really helps here. And we'll just stay here for a couple more breaths. And that back leg, your weight is on the outer edge of that foot. And think about relaxing your shoulders down away from your ears. One more breath. And keeping your legs right where they are, place your left hand on your back leg and bring your right arm up overhead, reversing your warrior. And then come back up again into warrior two, keeping your legs exactly as they are. Just for a couple breaths. Now rotate your hips forward, coming back just for a second into crescent. And now we're gonna lean forward and put weight into that front leg and come into Natarajasana. So you're gonna come forward, you can just watch me for a second. You're gonna bend the left leg and then grab that foot. I like to grab it from the inside, so toward the arch of the foot. And then just lean forward, however much feels reasonable for you. And the opposite arm can be ahead or it can be up above. Okay, so if you're in your warrior two still, go ahead and come forward onto that right foot. Bend your left leg, grab your foot or ankle, and lean forward to wherever feels like a gentle stretch to your back. Then this right arm can be forward or it can be up, either way. And as you feel comfortable here, you can push that leg into your foot into your hand and try to lift that foot even higher. And trying to keep your hips facing down toward the ground rather than opening to the side. And then slowly and gently release that foot to the back of your mat. And one more time, settling into warrior two just for a couple of breaths. And then come into side angle. We're almost done with the sequence, side angle. You're going to place your right elbow on your right knee, if you like, or if that feels okay and you want to go a little bit deeper, you can put your right hand on the ground inside that foot. And then you can try to bring your left shoulder to be aligned over the top of your right shoulder, and then bring that left arm up to the sky. Or you can bring that left arm up by your ear, extending your fingertips forward. If you want to bind, you can do that here, taking your right arm underneath your thigh and your left arm behind. Any of those are options. Wherever you are, try to think about rotating your chest up toward the sky. And Just a couple more breaths here. And just one more time, very briefly, come back into warrior two. And then windmill your hands on either side of that foot. Take your right foot to the back of the mat, and come into chaturanga. And inhale to upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. Couple of breaths here. You might notice that the legs feel different from each other, having done that sequence on one side but not the other. Maybe your shoulders feel warmer than you did at the beginning of class. On your next inhale, take your right leg up to the sky. Bring your right foot forward. Bring your left foot forward and fold. And inhaling, come all the way up to standing. And then bring your hands to prayer. And then we'll do that sequence on the other side. Inhaling, arms up to the sky and look up. Exhaling, fold forward. Inhaling, look up. And exhaling, take your left foot to the back of the mat. Right foot to the back of the mat. Chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. And exhaling to downward facing dog. On your next inhale, take your left leg up to the sky. Bring your left foot forward, swivel your right heel down, coming into warrior two. So again, crescent. So front knee is bent, knee over the top of the ankle. The back leg is straight with your heel facing up to the ceiling. So it's not warrior two yet. We'll get there. But for now, crescent, heel pointing up to the sky, engaging that right thigh. Keep that leg straight. You should feel a stretch here in your psoas. See if you can sink down just a little bit here. Keep your hands at your hips, hands at prayer, or hands up to the sky, whatever feels right for you. If you want, you can look up. And see if you can sink just a little bit deeper, trying to bring that front thigh parallel to the earth. One more breath. And now you're going to rotate that heel down, keeping the front thigh bent just as it is. And now rotate your hips to the side, coming into warrior two, so your front knee remains exactly where it is over the top of that ankle. Back leg is still straight, but now the whole foot is flat on the earth, and the toes are angled in. And your hips are open to the side. You're going to bring your hands up to shoulder level. Again, trying to not lean forward toward that front leg, keeping your torso in between your front and your back legs, just over the top of your hips. Make sure your shoulders are down and away from your ears. You can look forward. Or you can look straight ahead, either way. You may have to nudge that back foot back just a little bit. A couple more breaths. And now go ahead and place that right hand on your back leg. Bring your left arm up by your ear as you lean back into reversing your warrior. And then come back just for a couple breaths into warrior two. That front leg is probably burning. That's good, it means we're working. Now I'm going to go to Natarajasana. So again, come back forward. You can either come with me or do it right after I show it. Same thing we did on the other side. We're going to bring our weight forward and bend that right leg, grabbing that foot or ankle from the inside, and then leaning forward. So again, you just bring that leg right next to your left leg, grab that foot or ankle from the inside, and then lean forward to whatever degree feels right to you. Trying to keep both hips facing down toward the ground. Your left arm can stay at your side. It can come forward. It can lift up by your ear. Any of those are reasonable options. And you should feel a gentle stretch in your back and a hamstring stretch in your left leg. Maybe a quadriceps stretch in your right leg. And if you want to raise that leg up higher, you can. It feels okay. Just a couple more breaths. And then release that leg and step back once again into warrior two. A couple breaths here. And then side angle. So you're going to bring your left elbow to your left thigh, or if that feels good, place your left hand on the ground inside that thigh. Bring your right arm either straight up to the sky or up by your ear. And again, if you want to bind here, you can. If you did it on the other side, try it on this side. You're going to take that left hand underneath the thigh and the right hand around behind and grab your own hand. Whatever you do, try to think about rotating your chest up toward the sky. And on your next inhale, push up into warrior two, just one last time. Whew. This thigh is really burning. Okay, hands on either side of that left foot to the back of the mat, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, and exhale to downward facing dog. I don't know if that feels like a different downward dog than the last time, now that we balanced out the legs. You can pedal them out or wiggle your legs if you need to. Hopefully your shoulders are opening up a little bit here. Just one more breath. And your next inhale, take that left leg up to the sky. Bring the left foot forward. Bring the right foot forward and fold over. And inhaling, come up to standing with your arms up overhead. And then bring your hands to prayer at the heart. Inhaling, lift your hands up and look up. Exhaling, fold forward. Inhaling, look up. Take your right foot to the back of the mat. Take your left foot to the back of the mat, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. Now come forward into plank. Now let's just do 3 push-ups. If you want to put your knees down, that is perfectly okay. We're just going to go slowly down and up 3 times. Okay, ready? Let's go. Down, and up, and down, and up, and down, and up, and then push your hips back again into downward dog. Couple quick breaths here. And come forward one more time. This time drop onto your forearms. So your elbows should be underneath your shoulders. I'll turn to the side. Elbows should be underneath your shoulders. And your hips are flat. Hips, shoulders, and ankles still aligned. Kind of like a plank, just lower down. And we're just going to stay here for a few breaths. Your upper back is engaged, kind of like in that hollow body plank. And your belly button is pulling in towards your spine. The balls of your feet are on the ground with your heels pointed toward the sky. One more breath. And slowly come down to the ground. Now we're going to do a little bit of work with our backs. So we're going to start with Shalabhasana. So your tops of your feet are on the ground, resting on the ground. You're going to take your arms either alongside your body, or if you can clasp your hands, you can do that. Then you're going to lift your upper body up off the mat. Okay, so whatever you're doing with your hands, whether they're straight alongside your body or clasped, go ahead and get ready for that. And 1, 2, 3, and lift up. And make sure you're breathing. And come down. And you can turn your head and rest on one cheek if you want. Or you can cross your hands over each other and place your forehead down on your hands. Whatever is a good resting pose. We'll do that one more time. All right, go ahead and get your hands ready, whatever position you're going with. And lift up. And come down. If you rested on one cheek, go ahead and turn your face the opposite direction and rest on the other cheek. And just take a breath. Now we're going to do bow pulling pose. So you're going to bend one leg, whichever one you want, and grab that foot or ankle. I prefer to grab from the outside, meaning toward the flat edge side of the foot for this, but you can grab from the inside if you want. And then you're going to bend the other leg and grab that foot or ankle. And then on the count of 3, we're going to lift up. So it's going to look like this. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. You're pushing your ankles into your hands. That's what's lifting your chest up in some ways, is your legs pulling on your upper body. And you're engaging your upper back. And you're looking forward or up. And come down. And release your legs and relax. We'll do that one more time. So the more you push with your legs into your hands, the higher up your chest goes, because it's just a lever, right? The more the back legs are pushing, the more your front chest will lift up. All right, go ahead and bend one knee, and grab that foot or ankle, bend the other knee, grab that foot or ankle. Try not to let your legs splay out too far apart from each other. And 1, 2, 3, lift up. Make sure you're breathing. And release and come down. And rest your face. Push with your hands and bring your hips back and sit in child's pose just for a second. And come forward onto all fours, tuck your toes under, and come into downward dog. And now walk your feet towards your hands. Now you're in this forward fold. Bring your feet about hip distance apart. And then, if you can, grab your big toes with the first 2 fingers of each hand. If not, you can place your hands on your shins and just lean forward. Or if you can just get them barely to the ground, that's fine. What we're trying to do is lean forward So our weight is in the balls of our feet. We're bringing our head toward the ground. So as opposed to thinking about bringing our head toward our shins, just trying to bring our head toward the ground. Trying to keep the spine long and the weight forward. If you've got a hold of your big toes, you can pull your elbows out to the sides, and that can bring your head a little bit closer to the ground. We'll take a few breaths here. And go ahead and release your hands from wherever they are. And come all the way up to standing. We're going to go back to the wall and do one more shoulder opener. So this time you might want to stand just a little bit closer. And again, you can always make an adjustment to where your feet are. We're going to bring our hands to the wall a little bit higher than we did last time. So instead of shoulder level where I was before, just going a little bit higher up. This one, the higher up you put your hands, the easier it is. So make that adjustment as you need to. I'm going to bend my knees. And then I'm going to bring my chest, and my feet are too far away, so I'm going to bring them in. I'm going to bend my knees, I'm going to bring my chest to the wall. Once my chest is to the wall, I'm going to straighten the legs. So it's a good exercise for the upper back to try to get some of that flexibility. So again, my feet are a little bit closer than they were on the last one. My hands are higher. I'm bending the knees, bringing the chest in, and then straightening the legs. So I want you to do that 2 or 3 times on your own, staying for a few breaths each time. Now, if you've got your chest to the wall, you want to try to bring your chin off the wall. You don't want your face stuck on the wall. And then to come out of it, push your hips back, you can bend your knees again, and then stand up. And the closer your legs are to the wall, the more intense the stretch will be. And make sure you take some breaks. You want to be pushing your bottom back away from the wall. So you don't want to be like this. You want your bottom pushing away. So almost the same, like your hip joint is almost in the same position as our first shoulder stretch like this. This should still be kind of like at a 90-degree angle. It's just what's happening with your upper body is a little bit more intense than what it was for the other one. Yeah, and then you can walk your hands down the wall to get a little bit more of your hands and your chest down the wall to get a little bit more of an intense stretch if you want. All right, go ahead and finish up whatever you're on there. And let's go ahead and come to our mats and do a little bit of core. So we're going to start out with kind of one of our basic things, which is this Navasana transition. So you're starting in Navasana and then coming down to your back. If you can bring your hands up overhead, great. And then you're coming back up into Navasana. And you can do this with your legs straight or bent, either way. And we're going to do a few rounds of this, okay? So whenever you're ready, go ahead and bring your legs up. Again, either bent or straight. And then we're going to gently lay down, slowly keeping our core engaged, bringing our legs toward the ground and bringing our shoulders toward the ground, but not relaxing. And then slowly and gently coming back up into Navasana. And then again, lowering our legs and our upper body, If you want, you can bring your hands up behind your head, and then coming back up into Navasana. And again, lowering our shoulders and our legs. Bring your hands up behind your head, and then coming back up into Navasana. So when you're going down, you're not resting. Nothing is touching the ground except for your lower back and your bottom. So lower down, and come back up, and we'll do one more. Lowering down, and back up. And you can put your feet back down on the ground. And now we're gonna keep our feet on the ground, or keep one foot on the ground. We're gonna bring our bottom toward our feet, almost like you're gonna go into a bridge. Then you're gonna lift one leg, so I'm lifting my right leg up. I'm gonna lift my shoulders up. I'm gonna bring my hands to the sides of my body, like right next to my hips. And I'm just gonna swivel back and forth toward my left hip, toward my right hip, toward my left hip, toward my right hip. And you can keep both feet on the ground as well. You should really feel this engagement in your obliques. Now, if your right leg is up, go ahead and put that down and bring your left leg up. And keep swiveling. Left and right, and left and right, keeping your shoulders off the ground. Left and right, left and right. One more time, left and right. And then go ahead and relax down for just a second. And then bring yourself up to a seated position. And what we're going to do now is kind of like a variation on a plow. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring your legs up. You're going to sit, keep your feet on the ground and kind of lean back. As you lean back, you're going to bring your legs up into a straddle. And then, I don't think I have room behind me. And then you're going to come into a straddle and then come into like a plow with your legs in the straddle position. And then you're going to come back and sit up with your legs in a straddle. And then bring your feet back to the ground. You lean back, bring your legs into a straddle, and then bring them back behind you like in a plow. And then slowly come back down, bring your legs, keeping your legs in a straddle and sitting up, and then bringing your feet to the ground. We'll do that a couple more times. So you're rounding your back as you come down, bringing your legs into a straddle, and then bringing your feet up overhead. Like you're in a plow with your legs in a straddle, and then you're going to come back down and come to a seated position, meaning your body is upright, but your legs are up in a straddle, and then bring your feet to the ground. So one more time, rounding your back as you come down, bringing your legs into a straddle, and then bringing your legs to the ground behind you in a straddle. By the way, you can use your hands to help with that. And even coming down too, you can use your hands to help with that. And then coming into a seated position with the legs up in a straddle, and then feet on the ground. And then one last thing, we'll just do some basic crunches. So keeping your feet on the ground. You can keep your hands on the ground, or you can bring them behind your head. Just make sure you're not pulling on your head. And we're just going to do some basic crunches. Up and down, and up and down. You're trying to keep your belly button really engaged and pushing towards your spine as you bring your shoulders up and off the ground. Keeping some space between your chin and your chest. Kind of looking up at the ceiling in front of you. And we're going slowly here. This isn't a game of how many crunches can you do. Just slow and controlled. Up and down. And up and down. Up and down. Up and down. Keep going. Almost there. Maybe 5 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. and relax back. And now come to your belly with your with your forearms on the ground. Actually, let me stay to the side, forearms on the ground. Bring your toes to the ground, straighten your legs, and just do this half cobra where you're gently bringing your chest forward. You should feel a nice stretch in your abdominals. I'm just gently pulling back with my arms, pushing into the ground with my toes. My knees are off the ground. I'm engaging my upper back and looking up. And go ahead and relax. And push back into a quick child's pose. And now let's do just a couple of back bends because we've really warmed up our back here. So you can start with camel. So camel, you are seated on your knees and your feet can be flat like this with the top of the feet on the ground, or if you're not able to go as deeply into this, you can come onto the toes. And then what you're going to do is you're going to push your hips forward and then lean backward. Now, some people like to do this with their hands on their lower back with the fingers pointed up, and then you kind of lean back like this. That's perfectly fine if that feels comfortable to you. But the key is to keep your hips moving forward. And if you can get to here and that feels fine, then you can drop your hands onto your heels and still push your hips forward. Go ahead and do whatever version of that feels accessible for you. Again, the key is that movement of pushing the hips forward. And if you're able to get to your heels with your tops of your feet flat, then that's fine. It's the same thing, you're still pushing forward with your hips. And don't stay there too long. Come back out. Now let's just do one more. See if you can get just a little bit deeper than whatever you just did. So coming up onto your knees, and then either with your hands on your spine or not, whatever works for you. Come back into camel, pushing your hips forward, looking back behind you. And then go ahead and gently come up, trying not to twist or torque your spine as you come up out of that. And now, I think we're warming up. I want to do a wheel, but I don't know if you guys feel ready for it yet. If you don't, you can do a bridge first. So bridge is our feet on the ground, bringing our hips close to our feet. So if we put our arms next to us, we should be able to touch our heels. And then just pushing the hips up toward the sky. And your hands can be on your sides, or your hands can be clasped underneath you. Now we've done quite a lot of back warming and opening, so if you don't feel that you need that, you can go straight into wheel. So for wheel, you can start in the same position. You're going to put your hands next to your shoulders with the fingers pointed towards your hips and your elbows up toward the sky. You're going to push into your heels and into your hands and lift up. Now you can come first to the top of your head and then push up from there. That's fine. What you're going to do once you're up is think about pushing your shoulders over your hands. So you don't want to be way back here. You want to push your shoulders over your hands. And then you can walk your feet in if you want. Or walk your hands to your feet. Either way. And then gently come back down. I'm just going to watch for a second, see if I can give anybody any tips. So you're going to try to do about 3 of these if you can. Yeah, that's good, Sarah. Can you push more through your hands? Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I think so. Back opening relies also on your hips, which is why we did like a decent amount of hip stuff, because you have to be able to like to get from here into that upward position. So one, you have to push really hard through the hands, but then I'm also pushing through my heels, really pushing through my heels to get my shoulders over my hands. So it's kind of all things. Back bending involves most parts of our body. Patricia, that looks really nice. Can you push a little bit more through your feet? Nice, nice. Yeah, the other thing you can do if you're ever wanting to work on this on your own is you can go up against a wall. I guess I can do it probably right here. So you go up against the wall and then you go pretty close and then push your chest to the wall. Then you know that you're really getting your shoulders over the top of your wrists. But it's pretty intense, so I wouldn't ever try it just cold. I would definitely warm up before you try that. Yeah, and sometimes, yeah, exactly, Patricia. Sometimes you just have to walk your feet in a little bit more. Yeah, it's a lot of push through the hands too. So it's both pushing through the hands and pushing through the heels to get there. The other thing you can do for those who are like pretty comfortable in their wheel is you can work on the straight leg wheel. So you come up into wheel just like normal, and then you bring your legs out in front and then push. And that gets a bit of a deeper stretch in the back, and you can do that up against the wall as well. But again, we didn't do it without warming up first. All right, let's do, getting kind of close to the end of our time. So let's do, and I'm gonna run just a little bit over since we started just a little bit over. But let's go ahead and do an inversion of your choice. So this can be a shoulder stand, it can be an elbow balance, a forearm balance, it can be a handstand, it can be a headstand, it can be just up against the wall with your legs up. Any of those options for about 2 minutes. Whatever you're doing, please make sure it's something that you feel comfortable doing without a spotter. go ahead and finish up whatever you're working on. And come back into a seated position. We're just going to do a quick spinal twist. So go ahead and take your right foot to the outside of your left leg. The left leg can be bent like mine is, or it can be straight. It doesn't really matter. And then take your left arm and bring it to the outside, if you can, of your right knee. You're placing your right hand on the ground behind you. Rotate and look out behind you over your right shoulder. And go ahead and come back and face forward. And then just put your legs around. Put your left foot outside your right knee. Take your right hand to the outside of that left knee. Place your left hand behind you. And look behind you. Looking over that left shoulder. And go ahead and face forward. Stretch both legs out in front of you. Do a quick forward fold. So you're going to lift your arms up to the sky, hinging at the hips. Reach forward. You're trying to keep your back flat. We're not arching like this, but keeping our head extended forward, just like we did when we folded over when we were standing. And just think about bringing your abdomen closer to your thighs as you lean forward. You can look forward or you can look down, either way. Just for a few breaths. Go ahead and release your feet or your ankles or whatever you had a hold of and come up to the seated position. And then bringing your arms out in front of you, slowly leaning back, curving your back and bringing your lower back and your mid back and then your upper back to the ground and relax into Shavasana. Your feet are about hip distance apart. Your hands are on the ground with the palms facing up. And gently close your eyes. And focus on your breath. See if you can push out any wayward thoughts that come in.
Somewhere, baby, it's pulling me apart from you. You ain't ways to harm me. You fucked it, friend, it's all it said, it struck the street. You're in Milwaukee on a few feet. And a long salute, I was not magnificent. Christmas night.
Go ahead and start coming back to your body in this physical space. Maybe wiggling your fingers and your toes, maybe your ankles and your wrists. Maybe stretching your arms up overhead, giving yourself a nice big stretch. And if you want, you can roll onto your side, bringing your knees up towards your chest and then pushing up with your hands to bring yourself into an upright seated position. Just want to thank you all for being here with our new situation here with Joy of Yoga, and I hope that it was good. I hope your back feels a little bit more open, and I hope everyone has a lovely day. Namaste.